So unfurl your sales. The reason I called it that is because only a few things unfurl, right? We think of flags and sailboat sales. And I actually think that selling should unfurl as well. In the very same way that a sail on a sailboat unfurls. It's set, it's organized, it progressively goes up, 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 up. It's only when it's slowly and gradually done right, it can fill full of air, and then we can go where we want to go. So I just think that's the perfect way of looking at selling, that it's a very gradual, progressive, personalized thing.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Kempf. Mark is author of Unfurl Your Sales. So first up, Mark, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Fred.
Or is it
Pleasure.
bienvenue? Because you're in Canada.
Morning here, afternoon there. It's all good.
Is it French Canada? You're not in French Canada, are you?
No, not French.
But you're in Paris.
You're
just trying to confuse me with all this
stuff. Yeah. Named after gypsum mining, not Paris, France. So it's very contentious here, by the way. Yes.
Here's me trying to be impressive with my limited French, and no, it's Paris, but it's not even in the French part. But
Fred, I'm good with Spanish.
Same here. We could do it in Spanish. That's my second language. But we're here to talk about sales. Oh, now I'm getting confused about what sales, because Unfurl Your Sales.
Yeah.
Tell me, why did you call your book that? There's a play on the word sales, but I think there's more. Not
very good, Fred. Not everyone catches that, so I'm just going to hold up the post. So unfurl your sales. The reason I called it that is because only a few things unfurl, right? We think of flags and sailboat sales. And I actually think that selling should unfurl as well. In the very same way that a sail on a sailboat unfurls, right? It's set, it's organized, it progressively goes up, 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 up. It's only when it's slowly and gradually done right, it can fill full of air, and then we can go where we want to go. So I just think that's the perfect way of looking at selling, that it's a very gradual, progressive, personalized thing, and then it takes us where we want to get to.
Gradual, progressive, personalised. I like that.
Yeah.
I can hear people pushing back against that, going, no, sales is scaling, it's fast, it's growth, it's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear them.
I can hear them, yeah.
What's your comment to that then?
Well, I think there's a bunch of things at once. One is that it's actually the better way. So I'm a quality, not quantity kind of believer in selling. Mm-hmm. So I would much rather have very few prospects and be working on them diligently because they're right geared for me than working on quantity. I admit there's a problem when you start in selling, right? There's so much stress because the stress of your bank account and of your spouse wanting you to, make good in a day's work. Managements want selling. They don't want to hear that things are being pushed forward 3 months and you're good with that. That's not their idea of what you're there for either. So there's a whole lot of stress. And I know we do have to produce when we're new in this business, but still selling in a confident, personalized, and gradual way can happen within a day or a month or a year. So I believe that every opportunity should be maximized for what's available. And if I can sell something in the next hour, that's great. I still think it needs to be slow, though. Let me just give you an example. So I spent 40 years in the business. The last 25, more or less all about group benefits, corporate selling, right? And so if I went into a company, first time I met them, and Fred says to me, Mark, I'm glad you're here. You seem like a nice guy and you came highly regarded. And I'm really just so fed up with my current guy. I'm just so fed up. So can you look after my plan? Well, as a new seller, you're going to say, yeah, just sign here, away we go, right? And
Done. I'm brilliant.
done. Yeah, man, am I ever good at this? And the problem with that is what happens is the thing he's upset about his current broker will find out he's losing the business. The broker will call him and say, "What's your problem?" And he'll say, "My problem is you didn't respond to this, and I had this problem, and you didn't fix it." And he says, "Well, you didn't actually ask me about that problem. You asked me about this. That's why we did that. Or if you'd asked me, I would have solved it." And
Yeah.
so suddenly I've had that case for a day and I've lost it again. So a gradual way of doing that sale, as an example, is to just say, okay, Fred, what's going on? What's upset you? And what does your current guy try to do about it? And what have you tried in the meantime? And then say to Fred, Fred, if I was looking after your account, this is how we would treat it. Would that be appropriate? Would that have solved the problem for you? And then we also do these things. We do these reportings during the year, and we do this. I can give the entire talk about how I can look after a client in about 20 minutes that way, 30 minutes, and have addressed Fred's major problems. And so when Fred's incumbent broker comes back and says, we could have solved that, Fred's like, no, I'm good. Mark's like doing a good job and his programs are excellent. So that's just a slightly slowed down version of taking that sale off your hands in an hour, really. But
Yeah.
jumping at it like a dog who's an ill-trained dog jumping at a tree in a hand, right? That's what we don't want to do. We want to look after things in a slow, gradual way. And gradual could be within 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
It's, yeah, I mean, I've heard the expression quite often, slow down to speed up, that actually
Yeah.
you will probably get there faster. And the other thing that strikes me with what you're saying there is that by slowing down, you're actually going to give yourself time to think, yourself time to prepare, yourself to go away, research, and go, oh, I think this might be interesting to them. I'm going to take this to the meeting. I'm going to use it to see if that helps them and whether that'll kind of stimulate some conversation.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't happen as you wing things or you're running around next call, next call, next call, next call, next call. You need to stop and think about stuff, don't you?
Yeah. Well, that's right. And during the meeting, we have to be thoughtful and recalibrate how we're going to approach the prospect or that situation based on what's going to have the best outcome for us and the client. So, for instance, Fred, I may say, I often will take a couple of articles on topics that I think might be of interest, but I may not give it to them because I may decide, I may say to Fred, we've been talking about benchmarking group benefits, and I've got an article on that I'm going to send you and do a little research. And so then a week later, I can send you that article. It makes a good contact point of important information that bridges the gap between when we've met the first time, when we're going to meet the second time. And it kind of makes sure we meet the second time. If I give it to you at the first meeting, you're like, then you'll start to lose interest. Or you might. You might.
Yeah, and I'm just so you can't see what I'm drawing here. I'm drawing like two bubbles which are linked together, and I see
Okay.
the link. Well, I see the link between calm and confident, or
Right.
certainly appearing like that. If you're jumping in and you're getting dead excited and you're rushing around in that, it's like, whoa, you look a bit
Yeah.
jumpy. What's going on? Whereas I'm thinking of some of the best salespeople I know. They're just super calm. They just don't seem flustered.
Yeah.
They take things really steady and they instill this calm around them, and the customer feels settled because they might be
Absolutely.
a right mess, but
Yeah.
somebody's got us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a study done, it's in the book, but I can't remember exactly, but it talks about the three key things that people want in a salesperson. And you would think that competency was number one. It actually is. It underpins everything else. So if somebody has a sense that we're competent in our job, we've done it all before, we know what we're doing, not put blind trust in Mark Kempf, but just know that Mark's going to be looking after things the right way, then just that calmness is so reassuring, right? They don't have to worry about all the other things that we're concerned with because Mark's going to be giving good advice and doesn't mean you have to take it. We're still going to be discussing which way to go on things, but Mark's going to have the answers.
Yeah. I'm just, no, I'm reflecting on this and I'm thinking my brain's going to sport.
Okay.
Sort of
Always.
soccer.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
soccer, rugby. Rugby's my thing. And you look at the best players, and people say they just seem to have so much time. They're
Yeah.
playing the same game as everybody else. The game is at the same pace, but they seem to have more time in this game than everyone else. And
Yeah.
they're controlling it, and they're steady, and we all feel safe because they've got it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And the best players are surrounded by defenders, right? They're
yeah,
always like they're marked men. And yet somehow they just have time with the ball.
yeah,
It's like it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that little thing. Gradual, progressive, personalized. Let's talk about personalized because I think
Okay.
that's a word that gets misinterpreted, shall we say, in the world of sales. What does personalized mean to you? How do you define that in the book?
Well, first I do talk about not using scripts. Um, because scripts, I was trained on scripts. All scripts do is, I mean, I guess anyone who's hired by a big insurer or hired by a really big computer company in the 80s or something all got scripted to death. But you spend so much time trying to remember the script and then what to do about it when the other person's not playing along and where to go with it, that you're just missing everything else in the room, right? You're missing all the body language, you're missing all the openings and logical questions asked. So I think personalized is just following a natural progression of a sale or a discussion. So just like we're having now, it's just a natural. And it's personalized because I'm still have to use what I think is casually professional language is how I approach it, but it's still personalized to me. And I also have to have the confidence in my competency that I can see what's going on. So if Fred says to me, I'm not interested right now, I just want to have a conversation with you, then I have to judge whether that's true or not, or how to approach it. And so I just follow a natural trend of myself. The key to it is that the prospect is comfortable when I do this. I'm also more relaxed. And to your point, my brain's working now. I can hear myself think and keep 10 things at once in my head, where if I'm all stressed, I can't. And that's the other thing. When it's personalized, it's not stress-free, certainly, but it's far less stressful.
Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, I thought you might be talking about you've done the research to make it so that it's very relevant. I suppose is probably the word that I would be using there to that person.
Oh, I do that as well. And that's another aspect of it for
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
but
Because not overly research, I don't want that, but follow the conversation that we're having as opposed to the conversation I want to have with them. Right.
but that's a biggie, isn't it? The
Yeah.
conversation they need, the conversation I want to have. Why? Because my script says that. Because I can push it through faster. That means I can do 10 calls in the day, talking about my stuff. It
Yeah.
just feels too self-centered that for me. And people see it, don't they? And then will go,
Yeah.
no, don't want it.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk now, right, about detaching from outcome
Yeah.
and not being worrying about the sale. I agree with that 100%. But the other side of that is just that the selling part isn't even part of the process in a way. In using the process that I use, there's hardly even a close. And often there's not a close because it really is just a logical extension of what we've been doing all along. And we haven't talked about this yet, but my goal is not to make a sale. I think the goal of selling is to have a long-term client. It's a client building thing. And so the way that I talked to Fred the first moment I talked to Fred and all through the next conversations dictates whether I have a client long term. It's not the sale itself.
Yeah. Yeah, the detached from outcomes thing is funny. I know what it means. I know why people are talking about that, and it's to take the pressure off. SDRs, tons of calls a day. You're going to get lots of no's. Don't let it beat you up. The language is unfortunate, I think, because
Yeah,
actually, as salespeople, we sell outcomes. So I would be encouraging people to laser focus on the outcomes, but it's that customer's outcome. What do they care about?
yeah,
So yeah, I know why we talk about it. I mean, we might be talking about different sales here because an SDR trying to set appointments or whatever it is they're doing,
yeah,
it's different to somebody who is managing full cycle and account managing. So beyond, like you say, the initial deal.
Yeah.
The outcome is the be all and end all because that's what people are buying. They're actually buying
Yeah.
outcomes. They're not buying insurance service. They're not buying a machine. They're not buying a piece of software. They're buying the thing that gives them, aren't they?
Yeah. Actually, that's a great point. I didn't really understand this until I was kind of knee deep in LinkedIn, but as a SaaS seller, as an example, they do very well and they make good money, and I'm sure they're doing really good work for the client. But the minute that deal signed, like it's goodbye to them. It's handed off to another team. And that's so foreign to my world. It's my world. Like I had clients for a couple for 30 years, another bunch for 25 years. Like that was my goal, was to have a client for life, not just make a sale and lose it the next year. That makes no sense at all.
Yeah. And again, people who operate in other worlds of sales, actually, you could probably say the majority of sales, actually, the
I
concept of
suppose.
SDR, AE, CSM, it's like, somebody says, I've talked to engineers about this. I work with them quite a lot. They go, what? Somebody else does that? Oh,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't like that. I want to talk to the customer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, no, I do that.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. Yeah. Funny old
Yeah.
setup.
Same way.
Yeah.
Same way. By the way, when you
Um,
talk about laser focus, it just reminded me, I was so into that. So people will say to me that, sales has to have an urgency to it and that the clients be urgent. And my take on that is that I'm not trying to or drive urgency in the prospect. I'm trying to drive urgency in myself. So I believe in what I think is of the assassin's mentality when it comes to selling, that I want to get every sale that I have an opportunity at. And I want to get it when it's right and not ever miss one. But that has nothing to do with the urgency of the client. The client's natural position or spot where they would make a switch is where I'm aiming at. So I just need to know if that's a week, a month, or 5 years. And then I start aiming at it. And so I have a few sales, and salespeople love to brag about this stuff. So I'm going to try not to just brag about it, but but I have a few sales that happened 5 or 10 years after I first met them. And my favorite sale happened 9 years after I met the prospect for the first time. It happened on exactly when it could happen. And I knew that going in, like I knew it when the first meeting I was told. And so that's when it happened. It was my job to make sure that I was the one in front of them, the only one in front of them at that moment. And that was how it was done. That long-term sale towards a substantial client I just loved that sale because it had a lot of steps. I was watching it for 9 years. That's just when it happened.
Oh wow. Yeah. No, urgency. Yeah, urgency is a funny one. Create urgency. How do you create urgency?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the only way to create urgency as a salesperson on the prospect is by manipulation or salesy stuff or bugging them, right? All the things we really shouldn't be doing. So
It's more likely to backfire than create urgency, I would say. There
it
are techniques you
is.
can do stuff, but if you want to go on the how to create urgency course, can teach you these techniques. Now be aware they will not work and backfire as much as they will. I mean, it's up to
Yeah.
you if you want to take
Yeah.
those odds.
I
Uh,
always tell this story, Fred, about how when I was first in life insurance sales, and this is back in the early 80s. So we had um, it's like a cube farm sort of thing idea, right? And we had our own phone, but the calls wouldn't come directly to us. And they would teach us how to basically manipulate and trap people into buying from us. And so I remember the one night before doing this, I still did it in a gentle way, but basically answering objections, making them go down a little path, making sure they can't get out, sort of thing, selling this case. And I remember being at my desk early on the next morning, and I hear over the intercom, Mark Kempf, line three, Mark Kempf, line three. I know exactly who's called, right? It's that couple calling to say that they don't want what I just sold them the night before. So I always say, if we push and manipulate and force people into buying something from us, there's only three outcomes. They may say yes, they may say no, or they'll say yes and then no to get rid of us
yes and
later.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the problem is if that yes and no and the no, there's no going back to that, right? There's no way back to that prospect. So that's why just progressive and gradual selling is the best. It elevates the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the 80s has got a lot to answer for, hasn't it? In the world of sales.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
And I know it's why we sort of still kind of have that stigma. And look, there's that much information around. People are kind of, I think, more aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I went down the book, ethical selling, because that's what's going to work better. I've not written it, I don't know, just out of some kind of moral high ground. It's like,
Right.
no, you'll sell more.
Yeah.
Customers want it, and it's better, more
Yeah.
effective. I mean, apart from those two reasons, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
think of any why you wouldn't do
Okay.
it.
Yeah. And it
Which is a
leads to
lot of what you're
long-term
saying.
client blocks,
Slow
right?
down, speed up, yeah, be more empathetic, be transparent, listen
Yeah.
better, build a relationship, collaborate on stuff. That's
Yeah.
something we're looking for there. There was there was something else. I made a note. I've been scribbling things down and lost
Okay.
it. Gradual, personalized, confident. Let's talk a little bit more about it. We talked about confident, didn't we? That calm, reassuring, sage-like. So Simon Bowen, I'm thinking about that. Who is
Right.
this? If you talk to Simon Bowen, the way he comes across, absolutely
Yeah.
unflappable in this way. What what can we do? So we talked about slowing down. Are there other things we can do to be more confident?
Well, I think we have to take this as a profession. So if we're not actually in it all the time trying to get better, then we're not going to get better. So people are just terrible at, like, I used to work with guys who just didn't ever go to educational things, or if they went because they were forced to, they didn't learn anything. They just didn't adjust anything. So actually being more competent is important. Actually keeping up and being better every year you're in the industry, whether it's for 40 years, just be better the last year you're in it than you were the year before. It just gives you confidence. That's one thing. The other thing is I actually think the closer we can get to specialized selling, the better off we are. So if like Fred, I think you're a perfect example. You deal with engineers all the time, right? So dealing with engineers, everyone's going to know that Fred's the guy to call if you want to train some engineers. So it's helping on the prospect side, helping on the acquiring business side. And then on when you're doing it, it's like, you know everything about it, like all the language, all the tone, what's going to happen in a meeting. You know what the engineer's thinking when you're saying, engineer's thinking, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, or I'm here to solve problems, not to massage the issue. Specialization gives you incredible feeling of confidence because you are competent at it.
Yeah, you know what's going on. And because you use that competence, the reaction you get is better. And so you think,
Mhm.
well, yeah, this stuff is working. This is where I want to be. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Does make sense. Okay, what else is in the book that we need to be talking about? What do we need to be highlighting?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
such a
That's good.
cheats question, isn't it? That's the what have I not asked you? No, but
That's okay.
I want to make sure that while you're here, we squeeze all the goodness. And he's like, well,
Yeah.
mate, you should have asked me
Well,
about
I
this. This
want
is the key.
no, no. I'll just give you a little warning. So it's 476
Oh my
pages
God.
long. So it's really long. So there's lots of stuff in it. So you can't ask me,
470,
yeah.
470 pages.
Yeah, yeah. So you can't ask me. There's all kinds of stuff. But I must say I started the book talking about the main themes, but in context of goal setting as well. So it really takes you from the start of it because I think goal setting is done largely wrong. So for instance, if I'm a newer seller, my boss is telling me you've got to do 100 units of whatever in sales. I think, okay, 100 is my goal. No, 100's your requirement that the boss has given you, right? It's a
Mm,
requirement. It has nothing to do with my personal goal. Nothing at all. And what happens over time, and I had this problem, is I was at it so long that I had good years and great years and poor years. Usually a great year would be followed by a poor year because I was just doing all the work with those new clients. And so my goals really had very little to do with production. And my manager would say, what should I put you down for? And I'll give him a number. And I actually didn't care at all about that number. Like, just it was their number, not my number. So I started goal setting. I'll go all the way through the process of the sale. One of the things I really think we get wrong in selling too is having a good sense of what we're supposed to be doing at all the different meetings. So I try to lay that out. And every step in the sales process is slightly different. And every industry and what we're selling is different as well, right? So the sales cycle for group benefits may be 6 steps, but it may only be 4 in your world. And so you just have to have a clear indication of what you're hoping to accomplish at each of those and how to best do it. So I talk about everything from what do you do in the 10 minutes before you meet with your first client, your prospect for the first time, to what to do at the closing sale, and all the way to the very end. And I talk about how to rescue a sale. So there's this phrase called goat rodeo. Do you know what that is?
Goat.
Goat, goat rodeo.
Goat, like a thing with
Yeah,
horns.
yeah. So a goat rodeo is a euphemism. I think it must come from the States, but anyway, a goat rodeo is when everything goes to hell in a handbasket, right? So it's like, and so you're in the middle of some process and it's just all going south on you. And I had a really good example of that where I had this really big prospect and worked on it, got shortlisted from 4 brokers down to 2 brokers. And we go for this big meeting where we're going to talk about everything, and everything went wrong. Not technology didn't go wrong, everything else went wrong. One guy didn't show up for 20 minutes, and I said, just hold off, hold off. So we're like spinning our wheels, treading for 20 minutes. And then we just get started, and somebody else in the room gets sick. And then it's just like everything was wrong about this. So anyway, goat rodeo. How to save a goat rodeo? Like meeting is a skill in itself, right? In hockey especially, we call it pulling the goalie. There's a thing where you pull a goalie. You can't win a game. If you think you can't win a game the way it is, you restructure the game, right? So how to do that in a sales process? It's not manipulative. It's just that you have to be ready for the time when you have to pull the goalie. And at the end of the book, I have a chapter on what if you're failing in the business? How do you decide to stay? And if you're going to stay, or if it's not even that question, if it's just that you've just got yourself in a terrible slump, how do you get out of it? So I talk about that as well. I just think it's the entire range of stuff that the book covers.
Brilliant. 470 pages though. How long did it take you to write? I've
Yeah,
got this. I'm going to say it. So it's like,
go ahead.
it's like Forrest Gump started running and just carried on.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
sure he's not.
Just the way it worked. I thought I would spend. I thought the goal setting was important, so I wanted to put it at the start of the book. So I thought it'd be 4 or 5 pages. Suddenly, I had 80 pages on it, so that was way too many. So I got that down to about 30 pages, but also linked in the main themes of the book within that. So it's not as bad as you think, but it just kept going. So it took me about 3 years of writing to get the content and another year or so to get it, edited a bunch of times and get it down to where I had a final copy. I would say the first 2 years were mostly the heaviest thing. The one thing I did wrong, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a book, I didn't really have a framework for it. I had all these things in my head and I started writing. But what would happen is that when you have almost the same meeting 3 or 4 times, but you do it slightly differently all the time, I would be talking about something in the book, and that would get me, oh, and then I moved on to this part of the conversation sort of thing. And then I'd find out now I've revisited this topic again, but I've done it differently. So I may have 3 versions of the same thing. And I'd have to try to figure out, okay, which one's best, or how can I merge a couple of them together? And I didn't use any AI for it on purpose. I didn't even download ChatGPT until I'd finished it because I didn't want that to be inside it at all. But it would have been easier if I said merge these 3 things together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Interesting. What certainly what writing does, and okay, so yeah, we've written books, but maybe someone listening to it saying, well, I ain't got time to write a book, don't want to write a book. Even just writing half intelligence LinkedIn posts, yeah,
Yeah.
it crystallizes your thinking. You get so much clearer. Like you said, I've written this, I've done it 3 times. I've realized I do things in 3 different ways. Somewhere in there is probably the best way. Right.
Right.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
that. Wow, I've actually discovered the best way to do it for me. And that's why I encourage people to write stuff. And
Yeah.
I worry that because we'll outsource so much thinking to ChatGPT, people stop thinking completely. So they're going to write even less. So, Chatty, write me this post there, bang, up you go. Well, I can tell you right to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Writing is about getting stuff clear in your head, which means you can then use it, explain it, and the salesperson be useful with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and it's very difficult to so much of the book I is trying to explain quite subtle things that happen in a meeting. And so it takes some time to do that. It might take a page to explain some micro thing, but I think it's that important because so many people miss it. And, like new sellers miss it for sure. But what I found, Fred, and who I really think the book is for is like new for sure, or maybe a year in, but 5, 10, or even 20 years in the business where you're just not getting all the mileage you should out of it. You're doing the work and you're committed and you consider it a profession, but somehow it's not a switch to be flipped. It's still progressive growth, but somehow I'm just not getting everything I need. And maybe it's because I'm not doing it my own way, or maybe I'm just not thinking it was progressive. Or I may just be frustrated that it's taken me 3 years to sell Fred when I thought I should have done it on the third meeting. And then the book says maybe 3 years was the right number. Like
yeah.
you didn't need to sweat it. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and of course, 'cause sales is shifting, and it's if you mentioned it already, we need to keep moving, we need to keep learning, we need to keep, and if it could be that, well, I had someone the other day who they kept banging on about their 20 years experience, and I know it's a bit of a sort of a thing we say, but it was 1 year 20 times.
Right.
They kept saying 20 years, but it's like, right, what about this? Don't do that. What about this? Don't do that. What about this? Don't do that. It's like, right, all of these things which have happened over the last 20 years, you've not moved with any of them. So you keep saying you're 20 years experience. You're here. You're not
Yeah.
up here where you should be just by keeping up with the changes,
Yeah.
let alone
That's right.
getting up in front of them and good.
You've done 1996 20 times.
Yep. It
Yeah.
was. It was that. It was that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
bloody hell, time's flying. Right. So the book,
Yep.
where can people get it?
Yeah. Easiest on Amazon. So on
Amazon.
Amazon Canada or US. And I have a website, unfurlyoursales.com. Very simple. Usually, because I have no presence on Google, you may have to copy and paste it right into the URL, but you can get it through a hot link through there as well.
We'll put it. We'll put the link in chat anyway. We'll put the link in chat.
Okay,
And where
great.
can
Thank
people
you.
get in touch with you?
LinkedIn's probably best. So yeah, LinkedIn's probably best. Just Mark Kempf, Ontario. I think you'll get me for sure. My email address for the book is unfurlyoursales@gmail.com. So it's real simple, but I get far more information or contacts through DMs on LinkedIn than I do through a website. Yeah.
We'll pop that. So we'll put all of those into chat. They will.
Okay.
They will all be there. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Mark, brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and sort of sharing some of your thought there.
Thank you, Fred.
What my words? Confident, gradual, progressive. Did I
Love
get in the
it.
wrong order?
I think
Does the order matter?
I'll change it tomorrow. No, I always like unhurried as well. So
Yeah.
unhurried and elevated, I think is good as well. So
Okay.
anyway, thank you, Fred.
No, that's my pleasure. It's been really great to finally catch up and have a
Yeah,
chat with you.
excellent. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the collaborative selling scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.